The next young Crusaders. We the Crusader now. We the voice of the now. Trendsetters and change makers. From the back talk. Drip talk, real trailblazers. Tap in every Wednesday. Your favorites. Powered up by the Brotherhood Crusade. And be more in the cut. Make it big play. 530 accelerated radio. Plays young Crusaders. Hey, the next young Crusaders. Young minds on the mic. Just that big conversation from the headlines.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Career Cafe, brought to you by Accelerated Radio and Brotherhood Crusade. I am Paige Stevenson, and today I have a very special guest with me. Today, I'm joined by Chief Impact Officer at SOLA Impact, where she leads efforts to drive both investment and real community impact. She's also the founder of the SOLA Foundation, which has been awarded over $2 million to the first generation college students and created opportunities to thousands of young people across South LA. She's partnered with companies like Riot Games and Live Nation Entertainment to expand tech and workforce programs. Before this, she was also an Emmy-nominated news producer. Can we please provide a warm welcome to Miss Sherri Francois?
Oh, it's such a nice introduction, Paige. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to give you a nice introduction for a special guest. We're gonna get right into it today. I got some questions for you, so I'm excited.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Your work sits at the intersection of impact and investment. Can you break down what a day-to-day may look like for you and how decisions that you make serve both community and your partners?
Yes. I want to start by community is always our eye on the prize, right? We lead by community and choose not to make assumptions about what the community wants. So when I think in terms of investments and philanthropy, it is highly important that those that are investing in the work that we do are aligned with our mission. Well, don't get me wrong, I should say on the investment side, because I should explain that I straddle two sides of our company at SOLA. One is an affordable housing developer, a social impact fund that wants to ensure that the communities in which we invest, that the folks that live there are benefiting in some way from our work. That's the for-profit sides, that's affordable housing. Service Chief Impact Officer. And you mentioned that I'm the founder of the SOLA Foundation. And that is the affiliated nonprofit to SOLA Impact. And I'm very proud that the SOLA Foundation's mission is to end generational poverty and create generational wealth in underinvested Black and brown communities. So sometimes on the for-profit side, you may have investors who are just looking for a return. And I'll take their money all day because you need the money to make the impact.
Right.
And we'll still do the work if they could care less about the actual work and outcomes. On the nonprofit side, we're seeing that more of our partners, those that are in the mission with us and our supporters, are much more aligned and really care about the outcomes that we produce with the work that we do.
Right. That actually helps me segue into, my next question, because there's a fine line, right? You have impact and investment, as we were saying, and when those priorities don't align, how do you decide which one takes the priority? Because they are both important, like you said.
Absolutely. I think there has been a sentiment sometimes when you invest in what I call underinvested communities like ours, that investors tend to think, well, why am I going to put my money there when I'm not going to really see the outcomes? So for us, because there is so much incredible talent in our communities, raw talent, young people like you who are killing it, who are fierce, who are going to be taking over as our next leaders. I feel that it's my job and my obligation to make sure those investors see the possibility and the potential in our youth and young adults. So it often means sometimes having that proof of concept, right? A lot of what we've done at the SOLA Foundation has been, we're just gonna build it. If you build it, they will come. And we've done that, and the supporters come after. But I mean, I have to be honest, sometimes it takes that model to see, oh, Paige, look at what she's doing now. She's running a production. Let me invest in that. So I feel it's my obligation and my job to push that and ensure that the potential of investment is there because the proof of concept is there.
Right. With any investment, it's a leap of faith, and it sounds like you're involved with a business that requires you to trust yourself a lot, and not only trust yourself, but trust the community, and trust the ideas, and your team. So that in itself,
that's not always easy.
Right, exactly. You want to talk a little bit about trust and working with the team and just how that comes about and when that kind of hits you and like the times that makes you hesitate and the best times when like I'm glad I have this team. I can trust my team.
So I will give you a very recent example. At the Beehive campus, for those that have been able to check out the campus, there is a commercial kitchen that's been sitting idle there for a number of years. And I had this crazy idea that why don't we create a culinary program at the Beehive, which will support a cafe at the Beehive. I have zero experience in culinary. I have zero experience running a cafe or a restaurant. I don't know a thing. What I do, though, is rely on smart people around me who do know and take that advisement so that I can be as strategic as possible. But, there were some that were like, what are you doing? What do you mean you're going to teach South LA kids to be the next chefs and own their own restaurants and then on top of it create a cafe? I had, there was some questions and apprehension, and I started to test my own confidence in that. But I truly believe, and I've always stood by, if we're really going to make a dent in this mission of creating generational wealth for our community, we have to think out of the box. Right? We have to be innovative in our solutions. What's been done, there's a lot of great organizations, thank goodness, like Brotherhood Crusade, who've been doing the good work, fighting the good fight for a long time, and a model of ours. There are not enough organizations, right? There could be many, many more serving our community. So trusting the instinct and saying we're going to walk alongside partners like Brotherhood and others to provide the impact that's needed, it takes confidence. It takes confidence and it takes trust in yourself, and then to get the trust and the buy-in in your team and then community on top of that is not easy. So. But I will say we pulled it off. We have a culinary program. We have a cafe that's up and running called 60th Street Cafe, and it's all for the community. But I would just say that it's not always easy to trust your instincts, trust your gut, and then go against the grain. But it's always worth it.
Yeah. Yes, I'm gonna take that. Trust myself. So you mentioned intergenerational wealth as well. That's perfect. What do you think about intergenerational wealth? What does that actually look like in a real family or a young person's life?
I was born in South Central. I was born in Compton. And my parents moved us out of Compton to Walnut, which is not that far. It's like 45 minutes away. But at the time, I went from an all-black community to a barely black at all community. My parents made sure that we were grounded and we had all of our extended family still in South Central, and I was there all the time. But what I saw way back then, and I will not date myself, way back then were even as a young little black girl, the disparities between the two communities. This community had all this, clean schools, clean streets, and this and that. This community didn't, right? This community, the kids were going off to schools and, oh, there's college? This community at the time didn't have as much, and it's about access. So I could see at a very young age, even though I couldn't name it, the lack of access in this community, which cut to today was part of the calling why I do so much work in our community. And the conversations around the dinner table in this community was like, oh, what are the investments? You know, what does your portfolio look like today? The conversations here were very different. These kids were going to seek higher education. My cousins and my immediate family and friends here, not a lot of them were. So these kids were going to build portfolios and buying homes. These kids were not. So when I think about generational wealth and legacy, I think about things like home ownership. I think about early investment, and I think about a mindset change, right? And that mindset change doesn't come easy unless you have exposure. And so creating that exposure and providing that access for young people here is my number one goal, because I am looking to make sure that we do everything within our power at SOLA so that you, for example, use you as an example, you already have your first home by the time you're 30. You already have your portfolio built. You know what investment looks like. You can choose higher education, but that's not for everybody. You might say, nope, I'm gonna go straight to being an entrepreneur. I'm gonna own my own business, or I'm gonna go work and be a leader or professional here. We need a whole lot of that to change the makeup of what economic mobility looks like in Black and brown communities. And that, to me, is building generational wealth, because you're creating legacy and you're creating something lasting that truly will go on for generations to come.
Definitely. And you mentioned access and, you know, being able to expose our communities to more things so we can know, you know, oh, I can do this. You know, a lot of people don't know what we can do because they've never seen it or witnessed it or seen somebody that looked like them be able to do it.
I feel like you've been in our tech center and looked at our wall, because on our wall we have written, if you can see it, you can be it. And you said it.
Yeah. I mean, I might have did my research a little bit. But what do you think is a common misunderstanding about wealth building in under-resourced communities?
Yeah, I get tired of this all the time. I think that there's sometimes, with some who are not familiar with our communities, there's a lot of misconception, right? A lot of that, oh, these are just rough communities, and you know, these kids, these people, you know, they you got to pull them up by their bootstraps. They're not going to go anywhere. You give us a little, and we will take it. We will exceed where you are. And I truly believe that. We see it every day. Every day. And so I think that is a primary misconception about investing in under-resourced, under-invested communities, is that the talent won't meet the potential. And what we see early on is that the talent far exceeds the potential. And there are a lot of investors and a lot of supporters that believe in that and are seeking to do that good work.
Definitely. Well, I want to ask you a question, and if you can share a moment or a story where a time in your work where you impacted a certain individual in a way that really stayed with you, or not even an individual, or a certain, you know, a certain time or a moment that really impacted you, that stayed with you.
We serve youth as young as 7 all the way to young adult, 24. We have programs for all ages, after school programs, workshops, summer programs, and within our facility, our tech center, which I'm so proud of, it's a state-of-the-art facility, very few like it in the entire country, in the heart of South LA, by the way. It's designed so that all of the creative labs are glass. So you can see the creativity, you can see the young people's minds going, you can see the innovation happening right there. And my office is part of that as well. So I can see kids designing every single day. I can see them building their portfolios. And for me, I say this all the time, if I won $1 billion today in the lottery, I would show up every single day to see and support that. And I'll give you one example, you just sparked. One student who's been with us, we call them scholars. One scholar who's been with us since he was, I think, about 4th grade. We have a wall, a scholarship wall, which has got about 187 or so scholars that were South LA, South Central students, high school students that we've given scholarships to. We also have a donor wall on the other side, and the donor wall has all of the folks that have so generously supported us. And I'll never forget, his name is Langston Bennett. Langston looked at the wall, he was little, and he looked up at the wall, he said, you know, Miss Sherri, someday I'm gonna be on that wall. And I was like, oh, yes, you are. But here's the kicker. Then he looked at the donor wall and he said, and someday I'm gonna be on that wall. I will never forget that moment. And Langston, we just had our fundraising gala and we surprised him with a scholarship. Oh, wow. He's going to Morehouse, and so he's made it on that wall.
Congratulations, Langston.
And someday he's gonna make it on the other wall. That is
wow.
the type of impression that lasts, that just will never leave me.
Yes, that's honestly, that's so beautiful, and it's dope to hear, you know, companies have that impact on our youth and our community. Companies like Brotherhood Crusade, for example, Accelerated Radio. I love when the mission statement and the result is being able to be seen by the result of the youth and how it carries the mission and how it carries the torch. Because you know, that's what's going to be our future.
And that's everything. And that's the win.
Yes, that's the win. That's the win. So big kudos to people like you who are helping light those fires, light those torches. You've reached thousands of young people. How do you make sure that skill doesn't dilute the personal impact?
That's a really good question. We have served thousands of young people through all of our programmings, from our bigger, wider community events to our smaller, 10-person or fewer classes. We really want to be intentional about having touch points with all of our youth. I don't think the recipe for success is one-off programming. Something that I've learned over time, by the way. So Paige comes in, takes a class, learns animation skills. That's great. You definitely upskilling, but then what? That's not enough. It's not enough. We understand that we need to pour so many more resources into our young people, and the goal is to do that for every single one of them. So kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier is how do we get you to a point where you are at a level where you're ready and creating wealth for yourself. It's because we're not going to leave you. We're not going to take you. I know that you like poetry and you're a creator. So we're going to chart a path for you. We're going to, at a very young age, create a portfolio for you, a resume, give you the power skills. I stole that from somebody because I love that word. I like soft skills. Give you the power skills, right, that you need. We're going to give you the access. We're going to help you make sure that you are fluent in all rooms. Hear me say that a lot too, because we're great in our communities, right? We talk to everybody. But what about and the world doesn't look like that. So what is it going to be like for our students when they leave their communities? Those are when the real challenges happen, right? And so we want to make sure that you are fluent in every room, that you have the resources and the confidence and the leadership to walk the walk all the way through. So we serve a lot, but it does us a disservice if we are not very intentional about knowing who you are holistically.
Yes, definitely. I have a question actually about what you were saying about kids in the community. Do you think it's more impactful? They're both very impactful, but do you think it's more impactful to bring assets to the child in the community, or take that child out the community and show them the access? Which one do you think has the bigger impact?
They're not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is I think you need both.
Okay.
I believe wholeheartedly that you need both. Youth in our community need to stay in their community, and they need to have the resources. So they don't have to leave their own backyards to go access what they deserve. That's number one. So being able to access that within their communities is vital and important. Second part is I also highly believe in exposure.
Yeah.
And in order to gain what I call real world skills, real world insight, and practical insight, you need to expand your world.
Yeah.
You need to expand your world. So as much as I like to keep our kids, not keep, but grow our kids, foster our kids in our spaces, because I think it's so cool, it's equally important that they get out and experience what they're not familiar with.
Right. Definitely.
And so I wholeheartely say that those are not mutually exclusive. It's not one or the other. It's a beautiful combination of both.
It's beautiful. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about your Emmy nomination. How has your background as an Emmy-nominated producer influenced how you tell stories and build the programs?
Yeah, so it's funny because I landed at SOLA in a very, I guess, non-traditional way. My background was in journalism. I started in news. I worked at CNN and NBC, and then I was ready to start my own business. I thought, I want to be an entrepreneur. So I went off and tried to start my own production company. I was actually successful by my terms and pursued that for many, many years. And I had some great clients. But storytelling was really, really my draw, long form storytelling. So it wasn't enough for me to be at CNN and tell quick stories. I wanted to be able to have people understand the subcultures that exist within our country. And so I was able to do that through MTV and tell a lot of great stories about young people. I saw everything, all facets of life, which broadened my exposure, right? And also my empathy for others and compassion for others, and that's another part of exposure that I think is important. It helps us become better humanitarians, right? But I was really excited when I got to SOLA that I could use my storytelling skills because so much of our work is about storytelling, right? We have to be able to be storytellers so that our community knows that we're here, that a community trusts us also, and for recruitment, and just raise awareness so that we can replicate this, or our partners can bring our partners in and work together, because I feel like we're better together. But to tell the stories of our partners, it really has, I think, helped me. And I didn't realize when I made that transition, because I knew nothing about real estate. I didn't have a traditional social impact background, but I took those producing skills and I built a foundation with those. And I built a department that was solely focused on making sure that we're doing the good work by the community. So it helped.
Definitely.
You never know how your skills will transfer and where you might land.
Yes, definitely. I have one more question for you, and then I'm going to send it over to Riley so we can get some questions from the audience. I want to leave off on a question to ask for our youth. For young people who want to create impact but don't have resources or connections yet, what are the first things they should focus on?
I think it's so cliche when people say this, but I do believe it. First thing is finding that confidence in yourself, right? And believing. I learned very young that and we had a conversation earlier, it's not about if, right? I truly believe you can speak it into existence. Understand that no one goes through life without challenges and triumphs. If I showed you how many rejection letters or doors that were slammed in my face, you'd be like, how'd you keep going? I had to keep believing in me. The other thing I would say is do not be afraid to ask. Ask away. Ask. The reason why I was able to start my production company is because when I was at CNN, I asked the general manager, and people thought I was crazy, I know I'm a valued employee. Can I take that camera? Can I take that camera kit, that $30,000 camera kit, to start my own business? He said yes.
Wow.
And that has been my driver, is ask. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Do not be afraid to ask people to open doors. Be relentless about it, because that is what it takes.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna take that, because I myself, I have a fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And it keeps me from asking for things. But you mentioned how you've gotten rejected so many times and you still push, but sometimes rejection is redirection.
That's
it's
right.
God's protection.
That's right.
All of the above. So thank you so much for
Love that.
being here with us today. And I'm gonna send it over to Riley to get some questions from the audience.
All right, thank you.
Hello again, Miss Francois. Thank you so much for being here and giving your time to us again today. I wanted to also thank Paige for hosting such a great discussion. Thank you, Paige. You always do amazing. So we're going to open up the floor for some questions from some of the apprentices from Accelerated Radio and also some of the staff from Brotherhood Crusade. So first, I want to go first. I wanted to ask more about, because, before we were talking about the black market flea, I kind of wanted to ask more about that. Everybody loves the black market flea. I love it all the time. Ever since I found out about it like 4 years ago, I've just been going nonstop. It's so much fun. I wanted to ask, why do you think kind of creating these sort of community building environment spaces is so important for us?
So the black market flea, as you know, is at the Beehive, and the Beehive has become, I wish I can say that it was intentional. We feel so blessed, but a cultural hub of sorts, right? Yeah. And it's been a place for community, a place for connection. It's a beautiful campus, so it's a great place to convene, and events like Black Market Flea brings people together. It's a connected fabric, right? And so there aren't a whole lot of spaces in LA where we have space like that to come together, to have camaraderie, to appreciate each other, to appreciate our culture. And so I think that is part of what is so attractive about Black Market Flea and events like that that take place at the Beehive.
Well, thank you so much. Next we have Zarius. He's an apprentice from Accelerated Radio to ask you your next question.
Hi.
Hello. What is one of the biggest challenges you had as a Black woman leader?
I would say there's a lot of challenges, but I know we don't have a lot of time. Being underestimated always, and you know what, I take that and I use it as power, because when we walk into a room as Black women, as Black men, or people of color, there's no question, especially when you're one of the few or the only one, that you are labeled, right? And there's a lot of preconceived notions about what you are. Yeah. And I love to disrupt that. And I disrupt it every single time. And whether it's just by my presence or coming to the table, I always want to come to the table doing my homework, right? Yeah. So that I'm prepared. That's what gives me confidence. But I've been in many rooms always where the white male who works for me, most people will always address him assuming that he's the boss. And I love it. And I'm like, and when they find out I'm the boss, you know? Yeah. So, but those are some of the challenges that, and I don't necessarily think I have to ever prove myself. I used to believe that when I was younger, that I had to prove myself. Yeah. But I no longer feel that way.
That's good.
Yeah. Thank you for that question.
Next we have a staff from Brotherhood Crusade, Mr. Marcus, to ask you a question.
Hello. Thank you for coming. My question is, how do you measure long-term success and community impact?
Yeah, that's a very hard question. We're a fairly new organization, I will say. And the youth that we work for and the young folks that we work for, I will say, we won't necessarily see the outcomes and the impact of, fat bank accounts or that they're the next CEO of whatever company, right? We know that we're putting them on that trajectory, but I look forward. If you were to ask me that question 10 years from now, it would be a very different article that I would be writing for sure. So right now what we're measuring are short-term milestones, right? So are these kids gaining and or upskilling, right? Is their confidence level going from here to there? Are they able, do they understand what leadership skills look like? So we're building the blocks right now. Long-term success for me, honestly, is getting those impact numbers. How many of these folks now are homeowners? How many of them have 6 figures plus, right? How many, those are the markers that we are working towards. I can't tell you that we're seeing them now because they're still littles. Right. But ask me that question 5 to 10 years from now, it'll be very different.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Francois. We have a question from another Brotherhood Crusade staff, Ms. Dominique.
Thank you. Dominique.
First off, Sherri, thank you so much for coming and engaging with our youth. We really appreciate it. My question is more about leadership. And so at Brotherhood Crusade, we talk to the students a lot about leadership and what that looks like. So what are like 2 to 3 things, like tactical things that our participants can do to build up their leadership skills intentionally?
One thing I would say, I describe myself as both a servant leader and a transformative leader. And a relational leader. It's not about me as the leader. It's always about the broader mission. I pride myself on giving everyone that works with me a voice. To me, that's exceptional leadership. I try, not that I'm perfect, but it's really important for me, I have found, to have that collaboration and to be able to trust and let go of the ego. The ego is tough. We see it every single day, but if you also come to the table understanding that everybody has a story, and this is what I mean by relational. Everybody has a story, everybody has their own struggles, everybody has their own ways by which they work. I really try to connect with every single person that works with me as a leader to understand, how do you work best? And also asking the question in reverse, how can I be the best leader for you? Those are questions that people don't often ask themselves.
Thank you.
Next, we have a question from another Brotherhood Crusade staff, Mr. Donald.
Thank you so much for coming out and sharing with us and taking the time. We really, really appreciate it. So my question is, you've built really strong relationships with a lot of organizations like Riot Games, Live Nation. What would you say that makes a nonprofit or a community partner stand out?
That's a really easy question for me. I can now answer that very quickly. I will use Live Nation as our best model of a corporate partner. We get partners or donors who are happy knowing that their money is going towards something good, right? And that's it. There's little participation. What I believe is a perfect model, or very close to it, is the model that we have with Live Nation, where yes, they have supported monetarily, but they also want to make sure that they're part of the product, in a very good way. Meaning, we had conversations about, we need your jobs. We need your internships. Your internships are some of the most competitive internships out there. We need to make sure that you keep some of those internships for our kids. We're going to skill them up. We're going to make sure they're ready and most qualified, but then open it up. And so they have worked hand in hand with us to provide at minimum 15 highly coveted internships across their venues all over. So every year we're placing 15 of our youth into Live Nation programming. And part of the question that was asked earlier, now our kids are at a point where they're ready, they're workforce ready for jobs. So they're getting placed in Live Nation roles in addition to. And what I like to pat ourselves on the back, our community, our kids on the back, is that they tend to be the most skilled and ready young people. So they're breaking that cycle and breaking those perceptions all around, because they want kids from our community, because they're just so highly talented. So to get back to your question, that is partnership at its best, because they need a pipeline of talent from our community that was lacking, and now we're helping fuel that and build that pipeline directly.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Is there anyone else that would like to ask a question? Okay. I think that's all. Thank you again, Ms. Francois. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Definitely piggybacking off of Riley. Thank you so much for being here. You were a fantastic guest. We had a great conversation. I definitely picked up a lot of gems. I'm sure our audience back home did as well. And we want to thank you guys for tuning in to our Career Cafe, brought to you by Accelerated Radio and Brotherhood Crusade. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday at 5:30. We're here with Miss Sherri Francois. And thank you guys. Have a good one.
Thanks for having me.
Turn it up. It's the next wave, baby. The next young Crusaders. We the Crusaders now. We the voice of the now, trendsetters and change makers. From the back talk, drip talk, real trailblazers. Tap in every Wednesday. Your favorites powered up by the Brotherhood Crusade. And be more in the cut.